Welcome to Tauros All Access. I'm Lauren Hill, joined by Evan Epstein. For the Tuesday edition of Tauros All Access, you had the opportunity to talk to Bismarck's broadcaster, Brandon Luisi, this morning. How did that go?
Yeah, it went well. Me and Ken were following along with the Wings Bobcats series all weekend long, and I think we were a little bit surprised to see Aberdeen taking both games 1 and 2. Yeah. Now, it was a close battle on both nights. Both games went to overtime, and I'm sure it wasn't the results that Brandon was hoping for, but Brandon had some great insight on the series, and I think the thing that came across clearly was this is a Bismarck team that's not worried about these two games, and they're going to come out strong in Aberdeen on Friday and Saturday. But with that, I'll let Brandon do the rest of the talking about the Bobcats and Wings series.
Here with Brandon Luisi, the voice of the Bismarck Bobcats. Brandon, thanks for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
So we want to hear your thoughts on the first two games between the Bismarck Bobcats and the Aberdeen Wings. A couple of tough overtime losses for the Bobcats. What have been your main takeaways from these first two games?
That's a razor-tight matchup. That's number one. You got two overtime games with not much separating both teams. You look at Friday night, a 4-3 overtime loss. And I think Aberdeen got off to the better start, right? They scored the opening goal of the game on the road. Both teams coming in hot. 13-game win streak for the Cats, 9 for Aberdeen. And then they extended the lead in the second period. Luckily for the Cats, 2 goals in 49 seconds, including one on the power play. It was Cronin and Kaminsky striking there. But the penalty trouble got the best of us there. We committed 4 penalties in the first 2 periods, so we dug ourselves a little bit of a hole. Had a key power play in the third period on Friday night. Pulled the goaltender, got aggressive. 3 minutes and 10 seconds left. We had a 6-on-4. Eventually struck the back of the net with just under 2 minutes to play. But, in overtime in the playoffs, you're playing 5-on-5, right? You're playing the 20 minutes. So it's just like regulation time, and one mistake can cost you a game. And credit to Aberdeen. I mean, they had a great wall play along that near side half wall, and Martin Gaudreau, who he wasn't one that has scored a ton of points for Aberdeen this season, but he was impactful throughout the entire game. And he found the back of the net with a screen out in front, slapped one bar down. And then just looking at Saturday, my goodness, 0-0 going into overtime, neither team making a mistake. And what really caught my eye was the neutral zone play from both teams. They were intercepting passes, and I know the Tauros have seen it too. Aberdeen loves to stretch the ice from the D zone, send whether it's Maxim, Tishkovich, Bulgakov ahead on a breakaway, and we tried to do the same thing. We saw both teams try. We saw different breakouts, different zone entries, but both teams stood tall, and then it was one small breakdown on a 3-on-3 rush that cost us the game on Saturday. So it's been such exciting, fun hockey to call. And we'll see how this weekend goes too.
Brandon, you mentioned that the Bobcats finished up the regular season on a 13-game win streak. Now, it sounds to me like this hasn't been a case of necessarily the Bobcats stumbling, but the Wings playing very good hockey through 2 games. Would you agree with that statement?
Absolutely. Yeah. Aberdeen came in hungry and they came in ready. And that's not to say that the Bobcats didn't. They definitely did. But, Aberdeen, I mean, they're a well-coached team. Scott Langer's got a ton of experience in this league. And, it's very similar to the Bobcats. They got healthy at the right time. For the previous matchups, we hadn't seen Owen Pitters. He was out for a majority of the year. For the first 2 matchups, Gibber Cool was out. And then the late season acquisition as well of Ryder Many Great Horses. It's a different Aberdeen team. And credit to them for coming into a tough barn to play in the VFW and taking care of business. And now we've got to do the same next week.
You talked about the game Saturday, 0-0 into overtime, and you got to look at these 2 goaltenders, Thomas Anderson and Damon Cunningham, 2 of the best in the league. What impact have they been having on this series?
Yeah, they've stood tall. And you look specifically at Saturday, Anderson stopping a shorthanded break away from Bulgakov in the second period, stopping point-blank opportunities in the slot. And then same thing with Damon Cunningham. I mean, Friday night, the third period game was a 3-2 contest. Tommy Cronin has the puck. He hangs onto it, waits for the goaltender to go down, and Cunningham reaches up and makes the glove save and absolutely robs Cronin. So these are two goaltenders that they play their position so well, and they know their strengths, and they understand their size and stature in the net. And they don't overcommit a ton. You don't see them making a ton of mistakes, and the Taros have had that with Svedin and Mazenko all season too. They've been very solid in net, but these two goaltenders in Cunningham and Anderson, man, were they standing on their heads this weekend.
I think, like you said, that's something you can say about all four of these playoffs teams, right? You got Svedin with the Toros, you got Jack Solomon and Carl Axelson with the Bruins, and in that Wings Bobcats series, two terrific goaltenders. I do have to ask you, so the Bobcats outshoot the Wings in both games on Friday and Saturday, a healthy margin Friday, and they outshot them 27-21 Saturday. Do you feel that statistic had any meaning? Were the Bobcats able to control play for a majority of the game, or was it more back and forth?
Really funny you mentioned that. So the Bobcats on average outshoot their opponent by 10 shots a game in the regular season. There were only 10 games that the Bobcats were outshot. And the third period, it's so ironic when you look at it. The Bobcats outshot the Wings 21-6 in the third period on Friday night, and it was the first shot in overtime that Aberdeen found the back of the net. The Bobcats had all the momentum in the world. And same thing on Saturday night. The Bobcats controlled the third period. It was a low shot third period, but Bismarck outshot Aberdeen 7-2. And so you know, I feel like it did have an impact, but a lot of those shots on Saturday weren't grade A opportunities. They were from the outside. They were short angle, trying to put one under the bar, just because Aberdeen wasn't allowing the Bobcats that center of the ice and giving them grade A opportunities. So it was a big credit to Aberdeen's defense, but man, I'll tell you what, like you said, Cunningham stood tall on Friday and Saturday, stopping 41-44 on Friday, and then all the shots on Saturday as well.
Brendan, got a couple more questions for you. Don't want to take too much of your time here this morning. You look at Saturday's box score, you see 5 roughings and an unsportsmanlike. How has bad blood come into play this series? And maybe has there been a little bit of a lack of discipline on either side?
I wouldn't say lack of discipline, but definitely the rivalry is there. The Wings and the Bobcats have been rivals for, gosh, now 14 seasons, and yeah, emotions get high in the playoffs, and sometimes, it really depends. The officiating crew, they'll let them play to an extent, but they don't want the game to get out of control. And so there's that fine line you have to walk, and you get involved in the extracurricular activities. If a guy skates too close to the goalie or gives him an extra tap, while trying to pound home a rebound, yeah, everybody grab a partner because it's going to be a lot of fun. And we saw that this weekend. I think a lot of those, minus maybe one or two, were obviously offsetting or coincidental minors, whether we were playing 4-on-4 or 5-on-5. But I know going into this weekend, it's going to be another high energy, high emotion matchup. Aberdeen, actually, we were looking just the other day, only has like 150 tickets left before a sellout. So they're packing their barn, and it's not an easy rink to play in. So I'm anticipating high emotions, but also we have a lot of veterans on our team, so I know they'll understand the situation and know what's at stake.
Place to play. It's a tough situation for the Bobcats, right? Trailing 2-0, going on the road for 2 games. Do you have a reason to believe that this Bobcats team can dig out of this hole?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there is not an ounce of panic in the locker room. And I was appearing on the radio today, recording a little segment, and he goes, well, 2-0. I mean, you got to win 3 in a row. And I said, but that's not the mentality of this team. The mentality of this team is, let's just go in and take care of business on Friday. Let's go one shift, one period, one game at a time. And that's really what has led to the Bobcats' success all season, despite having the adversity of injuries and maybe a couple of losses that they've wanted back, whether it was a blowout loss or a 1-goal loss. It was, okay, let's regroup, let's figure out what we did wrong and advance to the next game and just focus on what's in front of us, control what we can control. And right now, what's in our control is the next game ahead of us. So the coaching staff, the players, they all are not obliterating that panic button yet, and they're pretty confident heading into Friday.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me this morning, and it should be a fun weekend, both here in Minot and out in Aberdeen.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for inviting me on this.
Interesting to hear from Brandon, and I think it's a great perspective for that team to have. They finished the season on a 13-game winning streak and not necessarily being panicked despite going down 2-0 and having to play 2 games on the road could definitely help them out. Nonetheless, it's going to be a fantastic series out in Aberdeen, and it's going to be a fantastic couple of games, hopefully just one game here at the Pepsi Rink at Mesa Arena. We know Game 3 is happening on Friday, so make sure to buy your tickets. Puck drop is at 7:35. Also, buy your tickets for Game 4 on Saturday. While it's not guaranteed to happen, if you buy your tickets and the Tauros winning Game 3, that ticket for Saturday will become the first home game of the second round of the playoffs, which we don't know when it would be, because if Aberdeen wins, the Tauros would have home ice in the series. If the Bobcats win, the Bobcats would have home ice over the Tauros in the series. So tickets for Game 3, we know that's happening. That's Friday, 7:35 p.m. Also buy tickets for Game 4 on Saturday. Like I said, that will turn into tickets for Game 1 of Round 2 if the Tauros pick up the sweep over the Austin Bruins. But with that, that'll do it for Tauros All Access. Those tickets I told you to buy, go get them at that QR code, as well as any merchandise that you need. And with that, that'll do it for Tauros All Access.